So we need to talk about something really serious happening in West Bengal. It's a series of events that's forcing us all to ask a tough question. Are our college campuses actually safe? We're going to get into the safety aspect, sure, but also the politics and who's really being held accountable.
And this whole story, it really boils down to one person. A second-year medical student. Someone far from home, just trying to become a doctor. Before we dive into all the details, I just want to pause on that for a second. This isn't just another headline. It's someone's life that has been completely turned upside down.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the specific crime in Durgapur that sparked all of this. Then, we'll zoom out and see if this is part of a bigger, more worrying pattern. After that, we'll examine how officials responded, get into the political crossfire, and wrap up by unpacking 5 key issues that this whole situation brings to light. Okay, let's start with part 1, the crime in Durgapur. This is the case that really put a national spotlight on the issue.
So what exactly is the allegation here? Well, the story goes that on a Friday evening, this second-year MBBS student leaves her campus with a classmate, and it's alleged that soon after that, she was dragged to a secluded spot and brutally assaulted.
The timeline here is pretty tight. This all happened on a Friday night, and believe it or not, within about 36 hours, so by the end of the weekend, the police had already arrested 3 suspects. They apparently used cell phone tower data to track them down really quickly.
The police work is one thing, but this quote from the victim's father, it just hits you. He says, "I fear for her safety and have requested a transfer." Those words, they just cut right through all the noise. It's about a complete loss of trust. The one place his daughter was supposed to be safe, building her future, is now the place he fears the most.
In that loss of trust, it has real, immediate consequences. The student, you see, is originally from Odisha, so when her family says they want to transfer her out of West Bengal entirely, this suddenly blows up from a local crime into a much bigger interstate political mess.
So, that's what happened in Durgapur. And it really makes you wonder, right? Was this just a terrible one-off incident? Or is it part of something bigger, a much more disturbing pattern?
Well, when you start connecting the dots, a really troubling picture starts to form. Look at this. The Durgapur incident happened in October 2025, but just a few months before that, in June, there was an alleged gang rape of a law student on her campus in South Kolkata. And go back to 2024, and you have the rape and murder of a junior doctor at RG Kar Medical College. These are not just random, isolated events. This is absolutely a pattern. The common thread here is just impossible to ignore. We're talking about violence targeting women, specifically in places of learning. These are supposed to be safe havens, medical schools, law colleges, but instead, they're becoming places of extreme danger and vulnerability.
Okay, so if we've established a pattern, the next big question is, what are the authorities doing about it? Let's dive into the official response, what they did, how people reacted, and where the criticism is coming from.
Now, to be fair, in the Durgapur case, the official response looked pretty swift. First, the police launched their investigation and made those arrests in just 36 hours. Then, West Bengal's chief minister came out and condemned the crime. And on top of that, because the student was from Odisha, their chief minister also weighed in, demanding fast and exemplary punishment. You can really feel that interstate pressure.
But it's not all that straightforward. The official response has also come under fire. For example, in that other case, the one at the South Kolkata Law College, the National Commission for Women came forward with a really serious allegation. They said their own members were actually prevented from meeting the victim. And, well, that immediately sets off alarm bells about a lack of transparency, and maybe even interference.
And that right there, that's where this whole thing gets even messier. We're now at the crossroads of politics and public safety.
Basically, you've got 2 completely different stories being told. On one hand, you have the state's governor, C.V. Anandabose, who's pointing fingers at the government saying these cases are on the rise because of their inaction. But on the other side, the ruling party is firing back saying, hold on, you're just politicizing these horrible crimes. It's become a political blame game, right in the middle of a public safety crisis.
So this all leads to a really big question, doesn't it? I mean, arrests are made, politicians make statements. But is that really justice? Is it justice if the fear is still there? If nobody trusts the system to protect them anymore?
All right, let's try to cut through all the noise here. I want to unpack 5 key issues that really stand out when you look at this whole situation. So when you pull it all together, what are we really looking at? I think it boils down to 5 things. First, you have this conflict between quick arrests, which happen because of massive public pressure, and actually building systemic trust, which is way slower. Second, the obvious one. Our college campuses are incredibly vulnerable. Third, this whole intrastate political angle just makes everything more complicated. Fourth, you can't ignore the intense media and public pressure. And finally, all of this makes you seriously question the integrity of the very institutions that are supposed to be protecting students.
At the end of the day, what people are demanding comes down to 3 basic things. 1. Real, visible security on campus. 2. Police who are transparent about what they're doing. And 3. Politicians who are actually accountable, who can put safety ahead of their political fights.
And look, catching the perpetrators in one case is crucial, obviously, but it doesn't fix the root of the problem. The real challenge, the much harder job, is rebuilding people's faith in the entire system that's supposed to keep them safe in the first place. And this is interesting. The West Bengal Chief Minister, Mamata Banerjee, puts the responsibility right back on the colleges. She's saying private colleges must ensure safety for female students, especially at night. Basically, she's pointing to the campus itself as the first line of defense.
Which leaves us with one final and maybe the most important question. When a campus isn't a safe space anymore, who is ultimately accountable? Is it the college, the police, the government? When a place designed for learning becomes a place of fear, you have to wonder where the buck really stops.